Welcome back to Gothic Homemaking. I'm Aurelio Voltaire, and some would call me something of an expert on how to live your best spooky lifestyle. Yeah, that means nothing coming from a dead guy. Anyway, as a spooky guy who often has his talons on the jugular of everything delightfully frightful, naturally when I have friends coming into town, they always reach out and ask me to make recommendations of macabre hotspots where they can drink, dine, shop, or unwind. I have written out that list so many times that I think it's probably high time that I finally just make an episode about it. So without further ado, here are my top picks for dark dining and spooky shopping in the big Poison Apple.
Yay!
Let's say you just arrived in New York City and you want to buy a frightful frock or a glamorous Gothic gown. Well, as it happens, I know exactly where you can do that. Take a look. Gothic Renaissance is located in New York City's East Village. When standing eye to eye to this big fellow, you'll know you've arrived. This place is a large and very well-stocked store where you'll find more corsets than you can shake a whalebone at. There's a blacklight section, and honestly everything you need for a Gothic gala, Burning Man, a steampunk ball, or really any event befitting dark side royalty. You can really transform yourself into anyone you want to be with their seemingly endless array of masks, perfect for slinking into a masquerade. Or a Renaissance fair. There are stompy boots and fancy boots and really everything you need for a night out on the town. Not too far away is the classic Trash and Vaudeville, a favorite shop of many spooky souls. Creepy kids and lovable misfits have been coming here since the 80s to get their claws on punk rock t-shirts, glam t-shirts, and of course goth t-shirts. But if it's trinkets you seek, they have a large selection of Gothic jewelry and enough alternative accessories to make you scream your skull off. Since the owner, Dan Goodman, is the owner of the Trip brand, there's no shortage of punk rock looks, bondage pants, and even those street sweeper slacks for those of you reminiscing for your 90s goth days. There are also some traditional goth looks like this vest from Shrine, which I can definitely tip my hat to. Downstairs is a veritable treasure trove of shoes for literally every corner of the dark subculture, whether you're goth, glam, metal, or punk. And of course they have Dr. Martens boots. On the way out, grab a flyer so you'll know where the dark festivities are that evening so you can go drink and dance and be scary, but don't get trashed. If you love oddities and have a mind for the macabre, take a walk down to the Evolution store where you'll feel cozy and right at home surrounded by skeletons. This place is really like a natural history museum shop, but one where you can really sink your teeth into the exhibits and take them home to your lair. When I was there, they had just received a large collection of taxidermy from a Denver museum that had gone out of business. They have a large selection of mounted insects and butterflies, and if you don't exactly go ape for owning things made of real animals, they have gems and minerals and some lovely decorative items like this beautiful octopus statuette. They also have wonderful scientific prints which also come on ceramic tiles which you just might go batty for. When I was last there, I spotted these amazing human skull replicas that were a scream. They were $159 each, which, to be honest, is a very good price for replicas of this quality. So needless to say, at that price, heads were going to roll. Right into the lair, that is. Alas, poor Ulrich.
I'm starved.
I can see that. Well, you should. You certainly don't have any.
What?
Now, after a couple of hours of shopping, it might be time to scare up a bite. The first place I'm going to suggest isn't exactly scary all year long, but it's a place I think you're going to like. It's called Lily's, and it's an Irish Victorian establishment with above-average pub food. Now, the 19th century Victorian era design is sure to delight all year long, but if you happen to be in New York City around Halloween, well, let me tell you, people are just dying to get in here. They really go all out on the Halloween decorations, which are sure to lure in all sorts of souls to come in and hang out inside. They put up so many skeletons, they're literally crawling up the walls. But it's not just the skeletons hanging around in this place. There are also these creepy dolls swinging from the ceilings, and if you come here, you'll see what I saw. This place really goes all out. It is pure pandemonium, with spider webs and spiders and macabre touches framing every single corner. And you just might see a familiar face to frighten and delight. I shot these decorations back in 2021, but this year they've added a splash of color that's got people screaming bloody murder in the streets. For spooky dining all year long, there's Beetle House, a Tim Burton-themed restaurant where every day is Halloween. Tim Burton characters welcome you into a world full of skulls, sandworms, and whimsical dreams. You might just get hijacked into a dining room with walls covered in Tim Burton fan art and spooky decorations. The Bone Daddy himself might suggest an explosive drink at the bar. It's a prix-fixe menu at Beetle House where everyone pays roughly $50 for a 3-course meal, drinks not included. The menu features a good number of vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free options. I found the Sweeney beef to be quite tender, but if you're having trouble cutting your steak, just ask Edward to lend you a scissor hand. Unfortunately, 2 of New York City's spookiest places to dine have just recently closed their doors. They were the Jekyll and Hyde Club and the Slaughtered Lamb. If you want to see what you missed out on, you can see full reviews of both of those places in an episode of mine called 5 Monster-Themed Restaurants to Die For, right here on this channel. Well, now we've shopped and we've had a bite. The sun is beginning to set and we might just be ready for a bit of entertainment. Well, let me tell you, if you like musicals and you like monsters, you have come to the right place because Broadway presently has 4 monster-themed musicals. Times Square, Broadway, The Great White Way. Definitely a must-see when you visit New York City, though you should definitely not spend your whole trip here. While here, though, you can check out the Beetlejuice musical. Everyone's favorite goth girl, Lydia Dietz, makes a deal with this poltergeist that unleashes pandemonium in a truly wonderful retelling of the events of the film. They're constantly breaking the fourth wall with hilarious results. Contrary to what the sign says, Beetlejuice the musical is now at the Marquee Theater. And then of course there's Wicked, based on the events of The Wizard of Oz, telling the untold story of how the Wicked Witch became wicked. Spoiler alert, there's a popular blonde at the root of it all. I think you know the one I mean. Just off Broadway at the West Side Theater is Little Shop of Horrors. Don't be fooled by the small theater. This is a monstrous production with incredible puppetry and a spectacular cast that's so good you'll want to suddenly see more. A short walk away at the Majestic Theater is Phantom of the Opera, the biggest and baddest of monster musicals. From the ornate chandeliers and candelabras to the dark period costumes, this musical is truly a Gothic horror fan's best nightmare. I have seen this musical over a dozen times with many different casts, and they've all been absolutely spectacular. But it's all coming to a close, and that chandelier will fall on the audience one last time. Yes, it's sadly true. After nearly 40 years on Broadway, Phantom is finally calling it quits in February of 2023. So if you have not seen it, by all that is unholy, if you're coming to New York before then, buy tickets and experience this incredible work of art. Beetlejuice the musical is also closing in January of 2023. So the golden age of monster musicals in New York City is sadly coming to a close. So see them while you can. Oh yeah, you like Cats the musical? I cannot work with him. I mean it, I really can't. This is why I drink, people. Speaking of drinking, New York City has an absolutely spectacular collection of scary places in which to enjoy a libation. We're going to start with an oddities-themed bar curated by Ryan Matthew Cohen, who you might recall from the show Oddities. Take a look. You can find the House of Wax Bar at the Alamo Draft House in downtown Brooklyn. Ascend several flights of escalators to find music, mixology, and the macabre. Pass the theaters and head into the bar where you'll be immediately greeted by death. Death masks, that is, of famous composers and playwrights. There's even royalty here, like the death mask of this Swedish king and queen consort of Prussia. It doesn't take a medical degree to figure out how this poor chap met his end. There is a veritable rogues gallery of serial killers and military leaders, as well as medical oddities, such as an exhibit on the effects of corsetry on the human organs, which I highly recommend you check out. That is, if you have the stomach for it. There are also wax figures demonstrating maternity techniques, and while they're morbid, hey, those 19th century doctors had to learn somehow. There's a section in the back that, well, you'll just have to go see that for yourself. If all of these morbid models get you hungry, remember, it's a bar, so get yourself a craft cocktail and a snack. Settle in, surrounded by medical oddities, loosen your corset, and prepare to enjoy a powerful concoction at the House of Wax. This next spooky hotspot is very close to my heart because I helped design it. It is a hell-themed absinthe bar in the East Village called Café de l'Enfer. Take a look. Enter this hellmouth and you will be transported to a dark world full of sumptuous Gothic furniture and macabre decor. If you want to sit with this beast, ask to be seated in the lair of Voltaire. Café de l'Enfer exclusively serves absinthe and champagne cocktails that are every bit as sinister as the room they're enjoyed in. You can see a full review and a behind-the-scenes building of the bar in an episode called Café de l'Enfer Creating the Absinthe Bar from Hell, right here on this channel. Now, if expensive craft cocktails really isn't your thing, and you're looking for a more laid-back but still frightful affair, then Big Lee's got you covered. Just take a look. Big Lee's Hard Swallow is a Gothic rock bar just a block away from Café de l'Enfer. Except here, cheap beer and booze is the mantra. Owners Big Lee and Sasha, seen here, love the macabre, and they've created a laid-back, rocking place for lovers of the darkness to enjoy strong drinks along with their strong music, and perhaps a game of pool. Like any bar, they get their occasional clown, but just the good kind. At the end of the bar, you'll find Alex, the resident skeleton. Alex and I have seen many a movie together, and since they keep the screen black and white, every film seems like a sci-fi or horror classic, especially when it is one. There's often a DJ and always a jukebox, but be warned, this is a metal, punk, and rock bar, and the management will skip your selection if it sucks. So, don't play any crap. The back room pays tribute to fallen rockers we know, admire, and love. And you know we at Gothic Homemaking love that wallpaper. So come in for a hard swallow and stay for the hard music. Well, that concludes my list of bars, shops, and restaurants where spooky souls can eat, drink, and be scary. But I've saved the best for last. Whenever I'm doing a spooky tour of any city, I always try to make it a point to visit the local cemetery. And as it happens, New York City has an epic necropolis that happens to love people who love cemeteries. Established in the 1830s, Greenwood Cemetery isn't New York City's biggest cemetery. That honor goes to Calgary up in Queens, which you should certainly visit. But Greenwood is an exquisite example of 19th and turn-of-the-century funerary design. The crypts are truly spectacular. But what really makes this cemetery an absolute treasure is that they absolutely love their living guests. Allow me to explain. While most cemeteries are trying to keep people out, Greenwood has several programs that unlocks these doors and allows you to take a peek into the catacombs. And these programs are typically at night. There are countless trails here that they light with candles and fairy lights as you stroll through a cemetery at night to see all of this beautiful architecture by moonlight while surrounded by gorgeous music. The first event I ever attended at Greenwood Cemetery was called Angels and Accordions, and let me tell you, there is nothing more beautiful than walking through a candlelit cemetery at night and hearing violin and accordion music coming out of the catacombs. Another odd sound you might hear at Greenwood, but during the day, is the sound of parakeets, which might have you wondering, what are parakeets doing in cold New York City? Well, as the story goes, these parakeets were in transit and they escaped from their container and took up residence in the cemetery gates. Well, you won't hear parakeets at night, but when the sun goes down and they're holding their Death of Classical series, you might just be treated to a Baroque quintet in this gorgeous chapel. Recently, Mayumi and I attended another nighttime event there called Nightfall. Tombs were illuminated with beautifully eerie lighting, the trails were lit up with candles, and yes, beautiful chamber music flowed from the crypts. There were performers singing Schubert, much to the delight of the guests. And a modern dance performance took place in front of a chapel, illuminated in such a way to make it seem like a giant monster. Performers could be found along the trails and between the crypts, including circus performers and an incredible jazz band. There was truly something for everyone with art installations and stop-motion film projections, but these two gentlemen were by far my favorite part.
This is Fergus P. Ferguson.
Ah, thank you. That was a lovely introduction.
Head grave
Can I call
digger.
you Fergie?
I'm quiet.
Yeah.
I'm the head grave digger.
Yes.
Here at what cemetery are we in again?
Greenwood.
Greenwood. Not Greenbrier.
Yeah. Me.
To so many.
And me.
You've been to so many.
I have been to so many, but I'm staying here. Right? What? What about you?
And me.
Oh, I forgot my friend. I have to introduce my friend. I'm so sorry. My colleague. This is Angus Beetle.
Fergus, how many times do I have to tell you?
Angus
The G is silent in my name. The G is silent in my name.
Angus Beetle, okay.
G.
Angus.
She got it.
Hey, we like.
Looking for a
Yes.
corn.
Oh, my. Oh.
I think she will.
Excellent choice.
What's your name?
Mayumi.
Naomi.
That's a beautiful name. Yes, come, Miami, come.
What a beautiful one.
Lovely. We just need to measure you for the grave because we're not sure if you're going to fit. So, Anus, give me my tool.
I'll write down the measurements and you'll use this.
The best way to measure people. She's 1, 2, 3.5. You should give Mayumi your drawing.
Oh, yes.
As a token gift of tonight's experience.
Yes. Should I sign it?
Oh, please. Anus, you can't just write something down and draw a beautiful picture and not sign it too.
No, I should sign it. I don't know how to read it right though. Oh, I got it.
Oh, my goodness. That's a bit of a genius.
I wrote an anus.
He drew an asterisk, actually. An asterisk. Dark Gods. I loved those gentlemen so much. It just really made me remember how much I love bawdy, morbid, Victorian comedy. This world needs more dark comedy, don't you think, Orville? Right. Well, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of spooky things to do in New York City all year long. And if you're headed to Mexico City anytime soon, check out my episode, Gothic Mexico City, for some spooky travel tips there. There's more spooky travel and Gothic home decorating advice coming up on Gothic Homemaking, so stay tuned.